Sacred geography, power places and spiritual landscapes. The sacred cartographers. In the windswept heights of Coatepec, where ancient volcanic forces had sculpted stone altars from living bedrock and crystalline formations, channeled cosmic energies through geometric perfection, the master geomancer Itzel Teoxihuitl stood among carved monuments that mapped not political territories or economic resources, but the invisible currents of spiritual power that flowed through mountains, valleys, and sacred springs like divine blood nourishing the body of the world. For these priest-scientists understood that the earth itself possessed consciousness, and that strategic positioning of ceremonial sites could harness telluric forces for healing, divination, and cosmic communication that connected human awareness to planetary intelligence. The sacred topography that these spiritual cartographers revealed through generations of careful observation and mystical experience included power centers where multiple energy streams converged in ways that amplified consciousness expansion and facilitated divine communication, while demonstrating that spiritual development required not merely proper ritual technique, but careful attention to geographical location and cosmic timing that could optimize the effectiveness of ceremonial work and enhance the quality of mystical experience. The mountain temples that crowned volcanic peaks throughout the Valley of Mexico had been positioned according to sophisticated understanding of earth energies and celestial alignments that transformed natural stone formations into sophisticated spiritual technologies capable of focusing cosmic radiations and planetary forces for specific therapeutic and consciousness enhancement purposes, while their architectural features and ceremonial orientations reflected astronomical knowledge and geological wisdom that unified physical and metaphysical sciences. The underground temple complexes honeycombed the sacred mountains included carefully excavated chambers positioned at precise depths and orientations that enhanced natural acoustic properties and magnetic field concentrations, while their geometric proportions and crystalline deposits created resonance chambers that could induce altered states of consciousness and facilitate communication with dimensional intelligences through systematic manipulation of environmental factors affecting human neurology and psychic sensitivity. The spring sanctuaries that marked emergence points for underground water systems included ceremonial pools and ritual chambers positioned to harness the unique energy signatures associated with water that had traveled through specific mineral formations and geological strata, while emerging at locations where magnetic field variations and underground pressure systems created optimal conditions for healing ceremonies and spiritual purification that utilized both chemical and energetic properties of sacred waters. The cave networks that connected surface temples with underground power centers included passages carved through living rock according to precise geometric patterns that enhanced energy flow and acoustic transmission, while their chamber configurations and connecting tunnels created circulation patterns that distributed spiritual forces throughout entire mountain systems and enabled coordinated ceremonial activities across multiple ritual sites simultaneously. The forest groves that preserved ancient trees and medicinal plants at specific elevations and orientations included botanical arrangements that enhanced natural chemical production and electromagnetic field generation, while their ecosystem management and conservation practices maintained optimal conditions for plant consciousness development and shamanic healing work that required access to diverse medicinal compounds and plant spirit allies. The stone circle observatories that tracked celestial movements and cosmic cycles included megalithic arrangements that focused stellar radiations and planetary influences, while their geometric configurations and astronomical alignments created natural calendars and timing systems that enabled precise coordination of spiritual practices with cosmic energy cycles that enhanced effectiveness of magical operations and divine communication. The ritual pathway systems that connected sacred sites across vast distances included carefully planned routes that followed natural energy currents and magnetic variations, while their rest stations and ceremonial markers provided support for pilgrim journeys and spiritual quests that required systematic exposure to diverse power places and gradual consciousness expansion through geographical initiation and landscape-based spiritual development. The ceremonial plazas that served as gathering points for community rituals included architectural features and geometric proportions that amplified group consciousness and facilitated collective spiritual experiences, while their orientation and construction materials enhanced acoustic properties and energy circulation that enabled effective large-scale ceremonies and festivals that unified individual spiritual development with collective cultural advancement. The burial grounds that preserved connections with ancestral wisdom included tomb complexes and memorial sites positioned to maintain communication with deceased spiritual teachers, while their architectural features and ceremonial arrangements enabled ongoing consultation with ancestral knowledge and guidance that enriched contemporary spiritual practice through connection with accumulated wisdom and spiritual achievements of previous generations. The agricultural terraces that demonstrated integration of spiritual and practical agriculture included field field arrangements and water management systems that harmonized with natural energy patterns, while their planting schedules and crop selections reflected understanding of cosmic influences on plant growth and nutritional development that enhanced both physical and spiritual nourishment through foods grown in spiritually charged environments. The Earth's meridian lines, the Telluric current mapping that revealed the planet's nervous system, included systematic documentation of energy flow patterns and magnetic field variations that connected sacred sites across continental distances, while demonstrating that ancient civilizations possessed sophisticated understanding of planetary energetics and geological consciousness that enabled them to position ceremonial centers for optimal spiritual effectiveness and cosmic communication through strategic utilization of natural Earth forces. The energy grid networks that connected major power centers included precisely surveyed alignment systems that channeled Earth currents through stone monuments and ceremonial architecture, while their geometric relationships and distance calculations reflected advanced mathematical knowledge and surveying capabilities that enabled construction of continent-spanning spiritual infrastructures serving both local ceremonial needs and broader cosmic purposes through coordinated energy distribution and consciousness enhancement. The magnetic anomaly locations that indicated underground mineral deposits and geological formations included sites where natural magnetic field variations created optimal conditions for consciousness expansion and psychic phenomena, while their identification and utilization required sophisticated sensing abilities and environmental awareness that enabled ancient spiritual practitioners to locate and develop power places that served specific ceremonial purposes and therapeutic applications. The underground water current systems that carried Earth energies through aquifer networks included natural flow patterns that connected distant sacred sites through subterranean energy transmission, while their mapping and utilization demonstrated understanding of hydrogeology and planetary circulation that enabled ceremonial coordination across vast geographical areas and facilitated communication between widely separated spiritual communities through shared underground energy systems. The mineral formation patterns that focused Earth energies through crystalline structures included natural crystal deposits and metallic ore concentrations that enhanced electromagnetic field generation and energy storage, while their location and development for ceremonial purposes required geological knowledge and mining techniques that enabled extraction and positioning of specific minerals for spiritual technologies and consciousness enhancement applications. The geological stress point identification that located areas of maximum Earth energy concentration included sites where tectonic forces and pressure systems created optimal conditions for energy release and spiritual phenomena, while their utilization for ceremonial purposes required understanding of seismic activity and geological stability that enabled safe and effective positioning of temples and ritual sites that harnessed powerful Earth forces without endangering participants. The mountain, ridge energy transmission systems that carried spiritual forces along elevated terrain included high-altitude ceremonial networks that connected peak sanctuaries through line-of-sight communication and energy relay, while their positioning and architectural features demonstrated understanding of atmospheric conditions and electromagnetic propagation that enabled effective long-distance spiritual communication and coordinated ceremonial activities across mountain ranges and territorial boundaries. The valley energy collection systems that concentrated Earth forces in lowland ceremonial centers included basin configurations and water flow patterns that gathered dispersed energies into focused accumulations, while their architectural enhancement and ceremonial utilization demonstrated understanding of hydrology and energy concentration that enabled development of major spiritual centers serving large populations and sophisticated ceremonial requirements through optimal geographically positioning. The desert power place identification that located spiritual centers in arid environments included sites where mineral concentrations and geological formations created unique energy signatures, while their development for ceremonial purposes required specialized construction techniques and water management systems that enabled establishment of functional spiritual communities in challenging environments that offered particular advantages for specific types of consciousness development and mystical experience. The coastal energy interface locations that connected terrestrial and oceanic forces included shoreline ceremonial sites positioned where land and sea energies created optimal conditions for specific types of spiritual work, while their positioning and architectural features demonstrated understanding of tidal cycles and oceanographic influences that enhanced ceremonial effectiveness and enabled unique forms of consciousness expansion through integration of diverse environmental energies. The forest clearing power centers that preserved natural energy concentrations within wooded environments included sites where tree arrangements and botanical diversity created optimal conditions for plant consciousness communication and shamanic healing, while their maintenance and ceremonial utilization demonstrated understanding of forest ecology and plant intelligence that enabled development of botanical sanctuaries and natural healing centers serving specific therapeutic and spiritual development purposes. The plateau ceremonial complexes that utilized elevated terrain for enhanced cosmic communication included high-altitude spiritual centers positioned for optimal astronomical observation and celestial energy reception, while their architectural features and ceremonial orientations demonstrated understanding of atmospheric conditions and cosmic radiation that enabled effective star wisdom teachings and divine communication through strategic geographical positioning and ceremonial architecture. Mountain consciousness networks, the volcanic peak sanctuary systems that crowned the region's most powerful geological formations, included temple complexes positioned at precise elevations and orientations that maximized access to Earth energies, while their architectural features and ceremonial chambers demonstrated sophisticated understanding of volcanic forces and geological consciousness that enabled safe utilization of immense telluric powers for spiritual development and cosmic communication through systematic engagement with planetary intelligence. The summit temple construction that required advanced engineering and astronomical knowledge included stone monuments carved from volcanic bedrock according to geometric principles that enhanced natural energy amplification, while their structural design and ceremonial features reflected understanding of high-altitude conditions and cosmic radiation that enabled effective celestial observation and divine communication despite challenging environmental conditions and construction difficulties. The crater rim observatories that provided access to volcanic energies and stellar wisdom included ceremonial platforms positioned at locations where Earth forces and cosmic radiations created optimal conditions for advanced spiritual practices, while their safety features and emergency procedures demonstrated understanding of volcanic activity and geological hazards that enabled spiritual communities to benefit from powerful Earth energies without endangering participants in ceremonials activities. The thermal spring temples that utilized geothermal energy for healing and purification included bathing facilities and ceremonial chambers positioned where underground heat sources created optimal conditions for therapeutic treatments, while their architectural features and water management systems demonstrated understanding of hydrothermal geology and medical applications that enabled development of sophisticated healing centers serving both physical and spiritual therapeutic needs. The lava tube networks that provided protected access to underground power centers included passage systems carved through volcanic formations according to geometric patterns that enhanced energy flow and acoustic transmission, while their chamber configurations and ventilation systems demonstrated understanding of underground construction and atmospheric management that enabled establishment of secure spiritual facilities and protected ceremonial spaces within volcanic mountain systems. The obsidian quarry sanctuaries that combined sacred geology with practical resource extraction included ceremonial areas positioned near volcanic glass deposits where Earth energies enhanced both spiritual activities and craftsmanship, while their mining operations and ceremonial protocols demonstrated understanding of geological formation and sacred technology that enabled production of ritual implements and weapons that possessed enhanced spiritual properties and practical effectiveness. The mountain cave retreat centers that provided secluded environments for intensive spiritual training included underground chambers carved and arranged according to acoustic principles and energy patterns that enhanced meditation and consciousness development, while their architectural features and support systems demonstrated understanding of underground construction and environmental management that enabled establishment of effective spiritual training facilities serving advanced practitioners and specialized educational programs. The peak-to-peak communication systems that enabled coordinated ceremonial activities across mountain ranges included signal stations and relay points positioned for optimal line-of-sight transmission, while their operational protocols and equipment demonstrated understanding of atmospheric conditions and electromagnetic propagation that enabled effective long-distance communication and synchronized spiritual activities across vast geographical areas and territorial boundaries. The snowline energy interfaces that accessed unique environmental conditions at high elevations included ceremonial sites positioned where seasonal ice and atmospheric conditions created specific energy signatures, while their architectural features and operational procedures demonstrated understanding of alpine environments and seasonal variations that enabled specialized spiritual practices and consciousness enhancement techniques requiring particular atmospheric and energetic conditions. The mountain forest interface sanctuaries that integrated woodland and alpine energies included ceremonial areas positioned where diverse ecosystems created optimal conditions for comprehensive spiritual development, while their botanical gardens and conservation programs demonstrated understanding of ecological integration and biodiversity management that enabled establishment of complete spiritual environments serving diverse ceremonial needs and educational purposes. The avalanche zone power places that accessed extreme Earth energies in dangerous terrain included ceremonial sites positioned where geological instability created maximum energy concentration, while their safety protocols and emergency procedures demonstrated understanding of mountain hazards and risk management that enabled advanced practitioners to access powerful spiritual forces without endangering ceremonial participants or spiritual communities. The glacial energy collection systems that preserved and concentrated cosmic forces in permanent ice formations included high-altitude ice caves and frozen ceremonial areas where extreme cold and atmospheric conditions created unique spiritual environments, while their architectural features and operational requirements demonstrated understanding of cryogenic preservation and extreme environment management that enabled specialized consciousness development and cosmic communication techniques. Valley floor sanctuaries, the agricultural ceremonial integration that unified spiritual and practical farming, included field arrangements and irrigation systems positioned according to Earth energy patterns, while their planting schedules and crop selection reflected understanding of cosmic influences on plant growth and nutritional development that enhanced both physical sustenance and spiritual nourishment through foods grown in spiritually enhanced environments and ceremonially blessed agricultural systems. The irrigation canal energy networks that channeled both water and spiritual forces included precisely engineered waterway systems that followed natural energy currents, while their geometric configurations and flow management demonstrated understanding of hydraulic engineering and energy transmission that enabled distribution of both practical water resources and spiritual forces throughout agricultural and ceremonial areas, serving diverse community needs. The market plaza power centers that served as gathering points for community spiritual and economic activities included architectural arrangements and geometric proportions that enhanced group consciousness and facilitated collective experiences, while their ceremonial features and commercial facilities demonstrated integration of spiritual and practical community functions that served both material prosperity and collective spiritual development through unified social and economic systems. The residential compound energy integration that incorporated spiritual principles into daily living included architectural designs and neighborhood arrangements that harmonized with natural energy patterns, while their construction materials and orientation demonstrated understanding of domestic spirituality and environmental harmony that enabled households to participate in broader spiritual community while maintaining optimal conditions for family spiritual development and daily practice. The craftsman quarter specializations that enhanced artistic and technical production through spiritual principles included workshop arrangements and production techniques that incorporated earth energy utilization, while their quality control and training programs demonstrated understanding of consciousness enhancement through skilled work and artistic expression that elevated both practical craftsmanship and spiritual development through integration of creative work and spiritual practice. The healing center complexes that provided comprehensive therapeutic services included medical facilities and treatment programs positioned to optimize earth energy utilization, while their diagnostic techniques and therapeutic approaches demonstrated understanding of energy healing and consciousness restoration that enabled effective treatment of both physical ailments and spiritual imbalances through integrated healing methodologies and environmental therapeutic enhancement. The school and training facility networks that provided spiritual education and consciousness development included classroom arrangements and curriculum design that utilized earth energy enhancement, while their teaching methods and student support systems demonstrated understanding of educational psychology and spiritual pedagogy that enabled effective transmission of sacred knowledge and consciousness development techniques through systematic training programs and mentorship relationships. The administrative center energy optimization that enhanced governmental and organizational effectiveness included building designs and operational procedures that incorporated spiritual principles, while their decision-making processes and leadership development demonstrated understanding of consciousness enhancement for effective administration and community service that integrated spiritual wisdom with practical management skills and organizational effectiveness. The storage and distribution facility positioning that optimized resource management and community welfare included warehouse arrangements and transportation systems designed according to energy flow principles, while their inventory management and distribution procedures demonstrated understanding of abundance manifestation and resource circulation that enhanced both material prosperity and spiritual well-being through conscious resource stewardship and community sharing systems. The cemetery and memorial garden arrangements that maintained connections with ancestral wisdom included burial site positioning and memorial architecture designed to facilitate ongoing communication with deceased community members, while their ceremonial features and maintenance programs demonstrated understanding of consciousness continuity and ancestral guidance that enhanced contemporary spiritual practice through connection with accumulated community wisdom and spiritual achievements. The festival ground configurations that accommodated large-scale community celebrations included performance areas and gathering spaces designed according to acoustic and energy principles, while their operational systems and ceremonial features demonstrated understanding of collective consciousness enhancement and community spiritual unity that enabled effective large-scale spiritual activities and cultural celebrations serving both individual and collective spiritual development. The transportation hub energy management that enhanced travel and communication included road intersections and travel facilities positioned to optimize energy flow and spiritual protection, while their services and facilities demonstrated understanding of journey spirituality and traveler welfare that enhanced both practical transportation and pilgrimage experiences through integration of travel convenience and spiritual development opportunities. Forest and woodland mysteries. The ancient grove preservations that maintained primordial spiritual environments included protected forest areas where original tree communities and botanical diversity created optimal conditions for plant consciousness communication, while their conservation programs and ceremonial protocols demonstrated understanding of forest ecology and botanical intelligence that enabled ongoing access to plant wisdom and shamanic healing resources through sustainable forest management and ceremonial forest interaction. The medicinal plant cultivation gardens that provided therapeutic resources and consciousness enhancement materials included botanical arrangements and growing techniques that optimized both chemical production and spiritual properties, while their harvesting procedures and preparation methods demonstrated understanding of plant consciousness and therapeutic chemistry that enabled production of healing compounds and consciousness enhancement substances serving both medical and spiritual development purposes. The Tree Council amphitheaters that facilitated communication with forest intelligence included ceremonial clearings and architectural arrangements positioned where ancient trees created optimal acoustic and energy conditions, while their ritual protocols and communication techniques demonstrated understanding of plant consciousness and forest spiritual guidance that enabled effective consultation with botanical wisdom and ecosystem intelligence for community decision-making and spiritual guidance. The shamanic journey departure points that provided secure access to non-ordinary reality included forest locations where environmental conditions enhanced consciousness alteration and spiritual travel, while their safety protocols and support systems demonstrated understanding of consciousness expansion and journey work that enabled effective exploration of spiritual dimensions and communication with non-physical intelligences through systematic shamanic practice and environmental enhancement. The forest hermitage retreats that provided secluded environments for intensive spiritual training included cabin arrangements and support systems positioned where forest energies enhanced meditation and consciousness development, while their architectural features and lifestyle requirements demonstrated understanding of wilderness spirituality and forest communion that enabled effective solitary spiritual practice and nature-based consciousness development through integration with forest ecosystems. The botanical laboratory complexes that investigated plant consciousness and therapeutic applications included research facilities and experimental gardens positioned to optimize plant communication and chemical analysis, while their research methods and documentation systems demonstrated understanding of plant intelligence and consciousness investigation that enabled advancement of botanical knowledge and therapeutic applications through systematic plant consciousness research, experimental collaboration with plant allies. The wildlife sanctuary interactions that maintained relationships with animal consciousness and forest spirits included protected areas and ceremonial protocols designed to honor animal intelligence and ecosystem consciousness, while their conservation programs and communication techniques demonstrated understanding of interspecies communication and ecosystem spirituality that enabled beneficial relationships with forest creatures and ecosystem intelligence through respectful interaction and mutual support systems. The mushroom cultivation mysteries that accessed fungal consciousness and underground networks included growing facilities and harvesting techniques positioned where soil conditions enhanced fungal development and consciousness communication, while their preparation methods and ceremonial applications demonstrated understanding of fungal intelligence and underground ecosystem networks that enabled access to unique consciousness enhancement substances and ecosystem intelligence through systematic fungal cultivation and ceremonial interaction. The canopy platform observatories that accessed elevated forest consciousness and aerial energy patterns included tree-based structures and climbing systems that enabled observation and interaction with upper forest ecosystems, while their construction techniques and safety protocols demonstrated understanding of arboreal architecture and forest canopy access that enabled exploration of elevated forest consciousness and aerial spiritual phenomena through safe and sustainable canopy interaction systems. The forest stream integration ceremonies that unified water and woodland energies included ritual sites positioned where flowing water enhanced forest energy circulation, while their ceremonial protocols and hydrological management demonstrated understanding of watershed spirituality and aquatic forest interaction that enabled enhanced spiritual spiritual practices through integration of water consciousness and forest intelligence, serving both ecological health and spiritual development through unified environmental stewardship. The seasonal migration coordination that aligned human activities with forest cycles and wildlife patterns included ceremonial scheduling and community programs synchronized with natural rhythms, while their observational techniques and timing protocols demonstrated understanding of ecological cycles and natural rhythm attunement that enabled human community integration with forest ecosystems and natural spiritual cycles through conscious participation in ecological patterns and seasonal spiritual practices. The forest-fire relationship management that maintained beneficial relationships with renewal and purification forces included controlled burning programs and fire ceremony protocols positioned where forest fire patterns enhanced ecosystem health, while their safety procedures and ecological assessment demonstrated understanding of fire ecology and purification spirituality that enabled beneficial human interaction with natural fire cycles and regenerative forest processes through conscious fire stewardship and ceremonial fire integration. Aquatic power centers, the sacred spring sanctuaries that channeled underground earth energies through water emergence, included temple complexes and ceremonial pools positioned where underground water systems created optimal conditions for healing and purification, while their architectural features and ritual protocols demonstrated understanding of hydrological spirituality and water consciousness that enabled effective therapeutic treatments and spiritual purification through systematic utilization of charged water sources and aquatic consciousness enhancement. The cenote diving chambers that provided access to underground water consciousness and submerged spiritual dimensions included entrance facilities and safety systems positioned where underwater cave networks created optimal conditions for consciousness expansion, while their diving techniques and emergency procedures demonstrated understanding of underwater spirituality and aquatic consciousness exploration that enabled safe access to submerged spiritual environments and underwater consciousness development through systematic aquatic spiritual practice. The river confluence power points that maximized water energy convergence included ceremonial sites positioned where multiple water sources created enhanced energy concentration, while their architectural arrangements and ritual protocols demonstrated understanding of hydrodynamic energy enhancement and water spirit communication that enabled access to amplified water consciousness and enhanced spiritual experiences through strategic positioning at optimal water energy intersection points. The waterfall energy cascade utilization that harnessed falling water power for consciousness enhancement included ceremonial platforms and meditation chambers positioned where water energy and acoustic effects created optimal spiritual conditions, while their architectural features and safety systems demonstrated understanding of hydraulic energy and acoustic consciousness enhancement that enabled effective meditation and consciousness development through systematic utilization of waterfall energy and acoustic spiritual phenomena. The hot spring therapeutic complexes that combined geothermal healing with spiritual purification included bathing facilities and treatment centers positioned where underground heat and mineral content created optimal healing conditions, while their medical protocols and ceremonial procedures demonstrated understanding of thermotherapy and mineral healing that enabled comprehensive physical and spiritual therapeutic treatments through integration of geothermal energy and aquatic consciousness healing. The underground river temple networks that maintained connection with subterranean water consciousness included cave temples and passage systems positioned where underground water flow enhanced spiritual communication, while their construction techniques and operational procedures demonstrated understanding of underground hydrology and subterranean spirituality that enabled ongoing access to underground water wisdom and subterranean consciousness development through systematic underground aquatic spiritual practice. The marsh and wetland meditation platforms that accessed water transition zone consciousness included elevated structures and walkway systems positioned where water and land energies created unique spiritual environments, while their construction materials and environmental management demonstrated understanding of wetland ecology and transition zone spirituality that enabled specialized consciousness development and ecological spiritual practice through integration with wetland ecosystem consciousness. The tidal pool observatory complexes that coordinated spiritual practice with oceanic cycles included coastal facilities and timing systems positioned where tidal patterns created optimal conditions for oceanic consciousness connection, while their scheduling protocols and ceremonial arrangements demonstrated understanding of oceanographic cycles and marine spirituality that enabled effective oceanic spiritual practice and consciousness development through systematic coordination with oceanic rhythms and marine ecosystem consciousness. The coral reef energy interface installations that integrated oceanic and terrestrial consciousness included underwater and shoreline facilities positioned where reef ecosystems created optimal conditions for marine consciousness communication, while their diving protocols and marine research demonstrated understanding of marine ecosystem consciousness and underwater spirituality that enabled effective communication with oceanic intelligence and marine ecosystem spiritual development through systematic reef interaction and marine consciousness exploration. The glacier melt spiritual spiritual collection systems that preserved mountain water consciousness and cosmic energy concentration included high-altitude collection facilities and preservation systems positioned where glacial melt created optimal conditions for cosmic energy concentration, while their purification techniques and storage methods demonstrated understanding of cosmic water consciousness and high-altitude aquatic spirituality that enabled preservation and utilization of cosmically charged water sources and glacial consciousness enhancement. The stormwater collection ceremonies that captured atmospheric water energy and sky consciousness included collection systems and ritual protocols designed to harness rainfall and storm energy, while their timing procedures and ceremonial arrangements demonstrated understanding of atmospheric water cycles and sky consciousness integration that enabled effective utilization of storm energy and atmospheric consciousness enhancement through systematic weather, spiritual practice, and atmospheric consciousness development. The aquifer tap installations that accessed deep underground water consciousness and ancient earth memory included drilling systems and ceremonial chambers positioned where deep water sources provided connection to geological consciousness, while their extraction techniques and purification procedures demonstrated understanding of deep hydrological systems and geological water consciousness that enabled access to ancient earth wisdom and deep geological consciousness development through systematic deep water spiritual practice and ancient earth memory access. The living landscape, the comprehensive sacred geography that unified all environmental spiritual technologies into integrated consciousness development systems, included coordinated power place networks and systematic spiritual practice schedules that maximize the effectiveness of geographical spiritual enhancement, while demonstrating that authentic spiritual development required not merely individual practice but conscious integration with planetary consciousness and ecosystem intelligence through systematic engagement with the living landscape and conscious participation in Earth's spiritual evolution. The ecological consciousness integration that connected human spiritual development with planetary evolution included environmental stewardship programs and consciousness enhancement techniques that served both individual advancement and ecological health, while demonstrating that spiritual development and environmental responsibility represented unified aspects of cosmic evolution and planetary consciousness development through conscious cooperation with Earth's intelligence and ecosystem spiritual advancement. The bioregional spiritual specialization that developed unique consciousness technologies adapted to specific environmental conditions included specialized techniques and training programs designed for particular ecosystems, while demonstrating that effective spiritual development required adaptation to local environmental conditions and geographic consciousness characteristics rather than standardized approaches that ignored environmental diversity and geographical spiritual variation. The seasonal spiritual coordination that aligned human consciousness development with natural cycles included ceremonial calendars and practice schedules synchronized with astronomical and ecological rhythms, while demonstrating that optimal spiritual development required conscious participation in natural cycles and seasonal consciousness changes that enhanced rather than opposed natural patterns and cosmic rhythms through systematic attunement and cycle-based spiritual practice. The weather-working integration that incorporated atmospheric consciousness and climate patterns into spiritual practice included ceremonial techniques and timing systems that utilized weather energy and atmospheric conditions, while demonstrating that advanced spiritual practice required conscious cooperation with atmospheric intelligence and weather consciousness rather than indoor isolation from natural atmospheric phenomena and climate consciousness interaction. The geological consciousness communication that enabled direct relationship with planetary intelligence included techniques and protocols for Earth consciousness interaction, while demonstrating that authentic spiritual development required recognition of Earth as conscious being rather than mere physical resource, and that planetary consciousness represented essential spiritual teacher and developmental partner rather than passive environmental background for human spiritual activity. The ecosystem service spirituality that recognized and honored the spiritual dimensions of natural systems included ceremonial acknowledgement and practical support for ecosystem functions, while demonstrating that spiritual development and environmental stewardship represented unified aspects of conscious living rather than separate concerns competing for attention and resources through integrated environmental spiritual practice and ecosystem consciousness development. The landscape reading abilities that enabled direct perception of geographical consciousness and environmental spiritual conditions included training techniques and practical applications for environmental awareness, while demonstrating that advanced spiritual practice required development of environmental sensitivity and landscape consciousness communication rather than disconnection from natural environmental awareness and geographical spiritual intelligence. The power place maintenance responsibilities that preserved and enhanced sacred site effectiveness included stewardship practices and restoration techniques for geographical spiritual centers, while demonstrating that spiritual communities bore responsibility for maintaining and protecting sacred places rather than merely utilizing spiritual resources without concern for their preservation and enhancement through conscious stewardship and sacred site care. The geographical spiritual legacy preservation that maintained sacred place knowledge and power place access for future generations included educational programs and protection systems for geographical spiritual resources, while demonstrating that contemporary spiritual practitioners bore responsibility for transmitting geographical spiritual knowledge, ensuring continued access to sacred places rather than exploiting spiritual resources without concern for future spiritual community needs and geographical spiritual preservation. The Earth Consciousness Partnership that established ongoing collaborative relationships with planetary intelligence included practical techniques and ceremonial protocols for Earth communication, while demonstrating that authentic spiritual development required recognition of Earth as active spiritual partner rather than passive environment, and that human spiritual evolution represented aspect of planetary consciousness development rather than separate individual achievement, disconnected from Earth's spiritual evolution. The sacred geography mastery that integrated all aspects of geographical consciousness and environmental spiritual technology into comprehensive spiritual development systems included advanced training programs and practical applications, while demonstrating that complete spiritual education required mastery of environmental consciousness and geographical spiritual technology rather than merely internal meditation divorced from environmental engagement and planetary consciousness development through systematic geographical spiritual practice and environmental consciousness integration through the patient mapping of telluric currents and the systematic development of power place networks that connected mountain peaks to forest groves through underground energy streams. The sacred cartographers revealed that the Earth itself served as spiritual teacher and consciousness enhancement technology, while demonstrating that authentic spiritual development required conscious partnership with planetary intelligence rather than disconnection from environmental consciousness. The sacred geographers thus taught for all generations that spiritual advancement depended not merely upon individual practice, but upon conscious integration with the living landscape, while demonstrating that power places represented not mere geographical curiosities, but essential spiritual technologies that could enhance human consciousness development through systematic engagement with Earth's intelligence and planetary spiritual wisdom. In the end, the sacred geography that connected human consciousness to planetary intelligence revealed that the Earth represented not passive environment but active spiritual teacher, while demonstrating that authentic spiritual mastery required development of geographical consciousness and environmental spiritual partnership that served both individual advancement and planetary evolution through conscious cooperation with Earth's spiritual development and ecosystem consciousness enhancement.